I think.
We are calling the meeting to order. It is 6:35. Monday, August 14th. We are in the conference room 3 at the town hall. The meeting is open. We have no one here for public comments right now. And let's go to approving minutes, which there wasn't much going on. We didn't have a quorum for the last time, right?
Nope.
No,
So we
Did
didn't.
anybody come in at all or anything?
Marissa came in, but,
Okay.
she's gonna come in today.
Okay. So there's no approving minutes. There really isn't any.
I have-
Well, she does have some.
Now I'm gonna go get them because I started it for you, so they're upstairs. I think.
Okay,
I
so,
mean, minutes from our unofficial or our.
no,
The
so,
one before.
Oh,
No,
forward.
no forms there.
Oh, the
Right.
week before, yeah.
so we can go
Oh,
on
that's
to
right,
this until she gets that.
Okay, so we're waiting for Marissa to come down, I guess.
No,
Oh, the canal thing.
we're waiting for, so we
Marissa.
can get the minutes from the meeting before last. And
Okay,
Marissa will get here when she gets there. And PVPC bill came in for.
and I signed that.
and
It's been
been
signed,
approved.
the purchase order and everything, so that is all set.
That's the canal documentation project?
Yeah. it's
Yeah, that's the
still
next
ongoing.
payment.
It's the extra work that.
Oh,
Yeah.
is this the end of it? Or are you?
I don't know, the total is 18,000. It's up there, it says in the paperwork there.
This was only for, 3,000 and something, I think it's worth.
No, I saw it in that paperwork,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Oh, right.
copy, yeah.
I think that's gotta be the last, because we already paid 11. And then I made another payment before too, I believe. Because I signed off before. Yeah. 18,905, and it says from January to June. And that's gotta be probably the last payment.
Mhm.
So do we have to do anything with that tonight or just? We don't. I have
All
to
we
do,
had to do is sign it,
yeah, so there's nothing for us to,
no,
no,
she'll take it to,
Right.
then they'll take it to the accountant and get paid.
Remember that the meeting before, they sent us that. whole
right,
packet,
yeah. I just want to make sure there's nothing else there at this
Yeah.
point. That we need to do.
I don't think
To
there's
do
any
a-
financial.
There's no financial because
There's
you haven't
financial-
purchased anything lately, have you?
No,
And our stuff
it's still.
is still upstairs?
No, we got foosball tables.
I don't, you have to ask Cindy if there's more.
Our stuff is still upstairs then?
Yes, and Cindy said that they will not be moving it down here, and we will not be going back up there to meet. So if we can go in there,
Oh,
we have keys, or we can go in there at
It's
any
more convenient to
time.
have it down here with us.
If we ever had to refer to something or something came up that has already been before, but I mean, we haven't recently, but you never know.
yeah.
So we will,
Mhm.
So,
I don't know how that's gonna,
No.
I think our files are gonna end up staying, although there's some historical stuff over there in that bookcase I thought. And I don't know.
Any idea what, are those file cabinets over there? Any idea who they belong to?
those aren't ours.
No.
Those-
I don't know.
No, I don't know who's got. We're able to get theirs down here and we can.
Well, I think what the mail is, I have the meeting agenda for the Board of Appeals and the stuff for the,
Oh,
canal. That's
which
it.
we took care of.
Nothing,
So, okay, that's done.
we just,
So Cindy's got the minutes, we'll do the minutes and then we'll.
Maybe you do too many board meetings.
Quick and easy. Promotion to-
Well, we really didn't have anything.
No. I said I make multiple for, quick and easy.
Yeah, I guess I'll second it.
I can't.
No, but you can say all in favor.
Oh, okay. All in
Yeah,
favor?
aye.
Aye, okay.
Minutes and approved.
Yes.
Okay.
Marissa, you want to step up to the table?
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, folks.
Hi.
Marissa Obregon, 126 South Loomis Street, here on behalf of the Agricultural Commission.
Ask you to speak up a little.
Oh.
Problem with that.
Yeah, 126 South Loomis Street, Southwick, Mass. Marissa Obregon, here on behalf of the Agricultural Commission. Looking for the vote tonight that would either endorse or not the protocol. And if I can just give a quick update. So I'm coming from the select board meeting where I formally presented the protocol, and they seem receptive to it. And at this point, they are moving it onto town council to review. And at that point, decide. But based off of the questions and the commentary tonight from the 3 select board members, as well as the chief administrative officer, it seems as though the protocol would streamline everyone's life. So pending review from town council, but so far positive response, and they were happy to see that other boards, and they documented the other boards that did endorse it so far. So I told them I was coming down to you guys and would let them know the outcome of your vote tonight. Thank you.
I think we would like to discuss it as a board. I think we still have a few questions.
Sure.
One of the things that, unless I missed it, and I know this is just the protocol, but I've worked with state law before, and you can't do less, but you can do more. And I'd like to see something in there that would require the select board, should they, should the board vote to violate, that the public know what their intentions are with it. I can see, if they sell or lease it for agriculture, horticultural, animal husbandry, if it's suitable park, hiking trail, I can understand that. But someone said last meeting about low-income housing, and I'm totally opposed to that. And I think that needs to be out there, if in fact, what the board, what the town, and that comes down to the select board, intends for this. Whether they present it to the, when they present it to the CPC, when they have a public hearing, and when the CPC has to have a public hearing for their money, if that's going to be used, I think it needs to be stated what it's for. Because I think the whole purpose of what the Agricultural Commission has gone and done this is to preserve the open space and the agricultural fabric of this town. And to have somebody suggest that they build low-income housing on it is so totally against what this is all about. And I just don't think that you might as well let the farmer sell the land to a developer. Why should the town buy it and then do the same thing? When the whole point of this is to, preserve the open spaces.
Understood. the only response I have, or rather a follow-up question to that, step 3 of this protocol requires by state law that there be a public hearing and discussion.
And
Do you
then
feel that that would not suffice to what you're saying?
I think, public hearing to buy it is required.
It's a public hearing
But
to
the-
discuss the interests and the intention before it can go to CPC.
And I hope before it goes to CPC, because CPC will require a town meeting.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And so any of those cases, I mean, so you would leave it to the public to ask rather than have the selectmen present.
Selectmen
I'm
can't
saying?
present, by state law, they need to have comments from all of the boards and commissions
So
that have it.
So somebody can't ask them and say, what do you intend to do with it? Because they,
I mean, so the idea is agricultural commission, the board of assessors, community preservation. They are not really involved at that stage, but they would get all of the documentation just so that they're aware of it, that they're supposed to, that's why they're included in here. They're supposed to get the documentation from the landowner and from our chief administrative officer about the right of first refusal.
right,
They don't have decision-making power to say,
I know that.
so I want to clarify that. Conservation Commission, Historical Commission, Park and Recreation, and Planning Board. When this public hearing is held, when it's scheduled by the select board, those boards that I just mentioned, maybe except the CPC, because they're the funding entity, they don't really have say. Everyone else has say, and when they go and have that special hearing or public hearing rather, they're supposed to state why they want to purchase it. The select board is going to ask them why they want to
So
purchase it. There's going to be
the board-
deliberation.
the boards have a say in what's gonna be there rather than the select
So the
board.
select board actually does not have deliberating body as to whether they want to pursue the purchase or not. By law, they have to give the right of deliberation as to whether that piece of land that has come up in right of first refusal is relevant to any of those other boards and commissions that I mentioned. So it's really up to agriculture. It's up to land use boards, according to Massachusetts general law, to decide whether they want to pursue the purchase or not. And it's because they have an agenda. For instance, in agriculture, we'd say this is on our wish list. Conservation might say something else.
Conservation may say, a preserve.
A preserve, we
something
want
like
hiking
that.
trails instead of a farm. You know,
I don't think
everyone's
there's,
going to
I don't
have,
think there's any of those boards would say housing, but housing was mentioned
where was it
Why does-
mentioned?
by the select person that was here at the last meeting.
Ah, okay, yes, now I remember what you're referring
Yeah.
to. So, I mean, for that to come up, agricultural, board of assessors, conservation, historical, park and rec, and or a planning board, contingency would have to express that at the select board meeting at this public hearing. They'd have to say to the select board's job is to organize this. It's not really to decide, it's their job to
So
organize.
so one of those boards, if that's what they intended to do, would have to state in that meeting, we want to put low-income housing, if that's what they wanted
Correct,
to do.
And
exactly,
another board would say, no, we
No.
want it as a park.
right.
Who decides?
At that point, let's see, there has to be, they have to acknowledge, it says the select board has to acknowledge responses received from boards. At the scheduled discussion, they have to discuss at that point whether, based on what the boards have expressed, they're going to exercise their right of first refusal. If one of those reasons was compelling and they want to pursue the first option, which would be to provide a bona fide
So
offer.
they get to decide which of those reasons.
It's
is compelling.
subsequent to discussion, it says, and the CAO will inform boards.
I have a problem with the whole thing and
But this
Linda's
is, it
hitting on
it
the
is
head.
state law.
Why would we even leave it open for an option for low income housing?
Because the
'Cause-
state law allows that. We don't have say in that. That's not
Sure
a
you do.
town thing.
Sure you do.
No, we don't,
Yeah,
because
the
the way the CPC is structured, what the select person said that day is that the CPC by Massachusetts state law does have funds that I guess can be exercised for that. So I think we're making the supposition that if CPC has the buying power given to it by the state to use its money to then provide low income housing, I think the scenario you're saying is that by tangent, if somebody has a property that they want to purchase with town money, they could use that because CPC can build low-income housing. Is that? That's what you're saying, basically.
I'm saying that if the town.
And that's nothing to do with this protocol.
Well, if the town votes to buy this farmland that was under chapter 61A or whatever, and, you know, it's a nice open space or whatever. I mean, I assume that town's not gonna willy-nilly buy land.
No, we
Just to buy.
haven't. No,
Right.
it's been incredibly difficult. We don't,
I'm sure,
right.
but, you know, and then, you know, so the land is out there. And then everybody has to have a say in if they wanna buy it, what they'll do with it. Before the selectmen bring it before the CPC. Now, whether they can use their money or not for low-income housing, you know,
That's, yeah.
it's just fiscally irresponsible for the town to be a landlord in any kind of anything like that. I mean, you may buy the land with town money, my taxpayer money, because every time you do this, you're taking money off of the tax rolls.
Yeah, it's already built
And-
into, we have that surcharge whether we like it or not.
Right. And
Right,
but you're
exactly.
taking- So
Exactly.
this money that this farmer is paying in, even though it's low on the 61A, is being taken off the tax rolls, which adds the burden, it spreads out to all of us. And, you know, that's fine and good if it's, you know, gonna be put back in agricultural or,
Sure.
like I said, parks or horticultural. But for the town to try and be a landlord, and then what are you gonna do? You want your road done? Oh, sorry, the DPW has to go put in a new septic system at the housing. You know, somebody punched in the wall. Oh, sorry, we have to fix that. Being a landlord is not something the town wants to do.
Right. I
And,
understand,
you know.
but I think there's several safeguards in place here as to whether we even get to the point of CPC money being used to purchase, in this theoretical scenario, farmland that the town may want to then develop into. One of these boards has to say specifically, I want to.
No, I
Right.
totally understand that, but what I'm.
And this
I guess what-
protocol has nothing to do with
I
that.
know.
It doesn't
what I'm
either
concerned
promote
with-
it or
I understand that too.
dissuade it, I guess. It's
I-
neutral
but-
on
but
that.
You've got all these boards.
Correct.
And, you know, this one says, oh, I'd like a park there. This one says, why don't we lease it out to, you know, the people at the Calabrese or whatever. And farm it
Right.
again.
Right.
And, you know, this town will be making money on the lease, but still, it's open space, which is what this whole thing is all about. And then somebody, who knows, says, well, I think we should do low-income housing. So you've got three choices there. Who makes that decision? You said, then it comes down to the selectmen to decide.
The selectmen don't decide whether it moves ahead with that intention or not. It has to be proposed then at that point. Okay, let's say theoretically in this scenario, agriculture, there's a piece of property. Agriculture says, oh, we're really interested in it. We want to have a farm. Let's say for some very strange reason, conservation wants to buy it, but they want to build low-income houses. Let's just say, but strange things happen. Let's
Yeah.
just follow this through to its logical end, because I want to understand and make sure that
I do too.
we are on the same wavelength. They have to, by state law, go to this hearing because they have interest in it. The select board has to hear that interest in the public setting. Have the public listen to each board that is interested, say, hey, this is our reason for wanting to purchase this property. This is our reason for wanting to purchase it to do XYZ. At that point, the select board is the organizing entity, and it's their job at that point to then take it to CPC. The CAO has to
With the
move it along
different-
with the different scenarios.
With the different scenarios.
Correct.
Okay.
And keep in mind
They
that
don't pick one.
they have
Okay.
no adjudicating power in this scenario. The only adjudicating power is the town voter. It has to go to
Okay.
town meeting. So let's say conservation says, well, we really want to put low-income housing here. Forget conservation. We want to put this low-income housing. Agriculture says, we really want it to, but we want it for farming. Legally, the select board has to entertain that hearing, and at that point say, okay, there is expressed interest. State law requires us to then move this and move that interest to CPC. They have to then have CPC hear both the conservation's argument as well as the Agricultural Commission's argument. Let's say CPC, for some reason, wants to go with the Conservation Commission, playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I got it.
If then at that point, they write the warrant article saying, hey, we heard conservation's argument for low-income housing. It's more compelling than agriculture. It still needs to get passed by the voters. At that point,
And
it goes
that's
to
where
town hall,
That's-
or to the town meeting, the annual town
Yeah.
meeting. So there's a few different safeguards in place in terms of making sure that it's
I'm
not
nothing
decided by
against-
anybody, like just the select board or CPC, because it is public money.
Right.
By law, when you use CPC money, it has to be voted on by the
Right,
voters.
I know.
So that's.
I have nothing
yeah.
against low-income housing. I just don't see the point of taking the option away from of the farmer for something that he could have sold to the developer, and we wouldn't have had to go through all this.
Fair, no, fair. I understand. And I'm glad we walked through that scenario
You know.
together because it is,
Because that really upset me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm in favor of.
Right.
Preserving the agricultural, recreational fabric of the town. But
So when, at the beginning of this process with you said something about all the boards would meet together as one?
no, they are each
Oh,
notified,
they're each notified, but
notified,
we
yes.
never get all together.
You could get all together. There's nothing in state law that says you can't. We've
Okay, I
gotten
don't know if in
together.
this scenario that we all got together, that's what
No,
Okay.
because in this scenario, what I was proposing was that there were different points of view to kind of play the
Right.
devil's advocate
no,
part.
okay.
So I'm gonna say agriculture's pitted against conservation in this case, and they don't want to meet.
I
and
just
talk, 'cause
remember what
they-
you were talking
yeah.
before about, I thought I remembered hearing that we would all get together some way, somehow, and then discuss what we wanted to do with,
Well, presume,
and that may
yeah.
come up when you're in that discussion.
when you're at the select board public hearing, exactly. I mean, I would anticipate being a public hearing, which has its own state laws, there has to be space for all of the entities in there to kind of express their view and have a conversation, deliberate.
Mhm.
So, that would be an opportunity. Let me say, for the record, though, when agriculture has heard about this, sometimes very late in the game, which is another reason why we wanted to pass this. We've reached out to conservation and said, hey, you guys knew about this early on. We didn't. We're in day 60. We're already halfway through the 120. And we've met, we've had meetings together, public meetings to discuss, hey, we have a common interest here. Maybe if we go together to a select board meeting and express, hey, we both want this piece of land because we happen to both see its ecological value, that's acceptable too. State law doesn't really have anything about these
Mhm.
separate boards
Yep.
and commissions deciding to meet on their own prior to the meeting. They're allowed by state law. It's not
Yes.
protocol
that's
in
why I
here.
said you can always go more than the state law.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
And I think that would be a pretty good idea.
Exactly. I mean, if we were all on the same wavelength and there were a historical farm property, we would probably, as agricultural commissioners, want to come down and talk to you guys and say, hey, this is a historical farm. There's a little bit of intersect here. How about when we get back to the select board, we each express, hey, there's a historical component to this. And you can say, hey, there's an agricultural component to this. We're both going to make sure that someone from each of the boards is at that meeting with the select board that day to make sure that we're kind of cohesive. You can certainly do that. There's room for that, and state law
Well, I don't know
protects
if
that.
the room time-wise, it's pretty crunchy.
That's it. Yeah, I know. I've lived through it.
Mhm.
That's why
Exactly.
I thought if there was,
Yeah.
something where we all got together at the same time.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of out of the purview of
Yeah.
this. I'm sticking to the letter of the law. If
I
somebody
know.
else wants to develop a protocol independent and make it like a municipal protocol, they should, I think. It's nice to talk to each other, but my focus with this is just reflecting the letter of the law back onto us and back onto the landowner, because it's confusing. That's why.
Yeah.
I'm not making
And
anything more or less
No, I know.
proposed here,
This is
so.
just following the law.
Yeah.
And we can go further if we so choose, but,
Yeah, I mean, if this were to get passed and we start getting information all at the same time, like we're supposed to by state law, maybe at that point, a year or two in, we can make a new proposal.
Who gets the first notification? It's the, chief administrative officer gets the first notification of when a farmer wants to sell.
It's the select board, board of assessors, planning board, conservation commission, and the state forester if it's a 61B property, because that's agroforestry. So if it applies, the state forester as well. And because the select board is one of the first entities that hears about it, the select board in turn,
Yes.
CAO, has to
Tells
then
everybody else.
inform within, how many days?
30, I think.
The select board has to then, that would be, the
Oh.
CAO has to select, within 5 business days. They have to let boards know.
Oh, and then we have to get back to them in 30 days.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So within 5 days of the select board getting notice from the landowner, the CAO has to let us on all of our various commissions know, 5 business days. Hey, you know, the clock started ticking on this date. You guys have 30 days from now, from when I've informed you. To keep the conversation going and discuss if there's interest. And then I put a line in here too, a due date for responses from the above entities, just because I didn't want to make it too difficult for our CAO to then have to be scrambling around and remember, oh, who did I
Right.
give this to? So that's why I added the checkboxes as well as a due date.
What if this goes beyond the 120 days?
Yeah,
Because now
we're
you gotta,
done.
We're done.
The town has loses its option.
they lose it.
By default, if we don't give an answer to the, an affirmative answer to the landowner,
Yeah.
we've
What I'm
lost the
saying
option.
is, what if you're saying you're gonna bring this to a town meeting? And maybe you're not gonna have a town meeting till the following year.
Yep. At that point, if there is a certified purchase and sale offer from the town, we can then make the purchase.
Without what the people voting,
Not without the people voting.
right? What I'm saying is, what if it gets to that, it's gonna get, it does get beyond, but you're making this commitment to go to a town meeting, say to purchase it, right?
Right.
Because it got approved by CPC funds and everything. But
Is
what
that,
if it
that's
doesn't?
still within the 120 days, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So you're saying that if we move
Right.
forward because we want to purchase it and we're within the
You
120
want to do it,
days,
but it's gotta go to a.
got to go to a
meeting, and
town
It doesn't
meeting.
go until beyond the 120 days.
Right.
And the town votes it down. Now, what if this farmer had a legit offer that maybe backed out
Oh,
of it?
okay. I understand your question
Right.
now. Thank you for clarifying. At that point, if there is a scenario where there is agreement from CPC to try to pursue this, but it's subject to town vote, we have to schedule a town meeting,
There'll have to be a special town
a
meeting.
special
To
town
meet
meeting.
it, to meet the town guidelines. But
Exactly.
then what he's asking is. if
To meet the
town
state
vote-
guidelines
Oh.
of
If they
120
vote
days.
down.
20 days, if the town votes it down, and the, you know, this is, the farmer has to have a legitimate offer, right? I mean, whereas his appraisal
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff. And then
We vote it down.
we vote it down, but his offer has gone away. What happens?
That's part of the caveat of
No,
being
No, it's not. You
registered.
know what the caviar is? I'll tell you what it is. He's gonna be suing the town.
He
for
can't sue
liability.
the town.
Sure he could, sure he
He
could.
can't because he gave up that right of being able to sell directly to landowner by taking a tax cut for however many years.
That's why.
It's a legal
that's why the town
agreement.
has first option.
Unfortunately for the landowner, I can commiserate from the landowner's side. But when you sign up to get a really good tax rate from chapter 61, 61A or 61B, you legally sign a document with the state of Massachusetts and your local board of assessors that you understand that when you want to sell this, you're gonna have to wait 120 days. If your offer
They
falls
already
through
know
in that
this,
meantime,
that's good.
they knew that. That's out of our purview,
Right.
unfortunately.
That's
That's a
good.
mass general law thing, and the landowners, in most instances, says, I'll take my chances. I'll get the low tax rate for 30
So if
years.
the town votes it down, then he just puts it back on the market.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and that's part of why I want to get this
And-
passed too,
And if
because the
we-
sooner
if
we,
go over the 120 days, he puts it back on the market.
exactly, we lost our, you know, our right at that point.
Like Barney.
Exactly. So, that's another reason why, though, to your point, Chairman Sanders, that I would like to see this passed because the more we drag this out, the more at a disadvantage it puts the landowner. There have been times where it seems like we haven't the money or interest to purchase it because it went through some of the boards, but 90 days in, a board hears about it and decides to kind of launch a last minute appeal. And the landowner's like, I thought it had gone through everybody, you guys didn't communicate to all the boards that this was supposed to go through. And we have to
This
say-
is stating right out, when a notification comes in of the sale, everybody gets notified.
Yeah, within 30
Oh.
days, exactly,
So
Exactly.
there's no,
exactly. So if you,
nobody missed out.
no, if you're coming to this 90 days in, say agriculture says, oh, we're interested now. Well, you have 30 more days. You're not going to get the extension. At that point, you knew your time's up. Let the landowner move on with their life. So we've had scenarios where, it has gone through the boards that are aware. And then the select board has kind of said, okay, there's been no interest. It can move as quickly as 30 days. And the landowner says, yippee, all right, no one had interest in this. I'm going to move on with my life. And they sell and they go. And that would be great. If there's no interest in it, why are we going to waste our time as boards and commissions
Right.
talking about a piece of land that's not relevant to us? 120 days is really for if you want to pursue it. If you don't, let's be done with it and move on within 10 days if possible, let the poor person move on with their life and get their money, And we're not protecting that right now. We're dragging people through it as landowners, which I think is unfair as well. So this is as much for our protection so that we know what we're doing as it is for the landowner and their attorney, So it's kind of keep it all moving along because it's a few steps, I get it.
You're just asking us to vote on the protocol. That, when they get notified, we get notified, we meet, we decide, we on that particular land, whatever. We're not voting on any particular property. at this
No.
point.
No.
But we will get to say anything on any of them
Yeah,
when the
exactly.
property comes up. You know the name coming up?
I don't,
I was
nothing
just
right
gonna
now.
ask.
Nothing right now.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, yes,
Yeah.
please.
Why isn't anybody doing anything about North Long Yard Road?
What do you mean?
The property up at North Long Road. And it was a few years ago, I'm just telling you, when I was working, spoke with the people there, because you go up beyond the houses there, the new houses on the hill. They can put 100 houses in there. That's
Did it-
already been thought of. That's the Griffin property up in the back.
The Griffin problem.
Nobody said anything about it. You're all worried about Carvana, but you got that.
Was
100
it in
homes can
chapter
go.
land?
What's that?
Was it registered in one of these programs?
All the way to the Westfield line. That's what this property goes all the way over. They already said they could put 100 homes in there. It opens up big in there. We used to, when I worked on the police department, we used to do check patrol. We used to go up there and check it out. It's huge up there.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And they're definitely
And they were looking
receiving
at it,
chapter 61.
back then, they were saying they could put 100 homes in there.
Well, did they actually sell the property?
They have, no, I don't think they have yet.
So that would, when they decide to sell the property, this is a good scenario as well, just something that I've learned over the years, going to planning board meetings. There'll be whole plans developed by Levesque. And it shows you like 200 houses and you're like, oh God, okay, I know this piece of land, or it's land I drive by, it's farmland. Until there's an actual sale agreement that they're going to withdraw the land, this doesn't get triggered. So there've been a few instances, Mr. Chairman, where there have been hearings through the planning board. It's been in the newspapers where they're like, this is a proposal. Well, lots of times what these developers do, and it's a way of hedging their bets. I get it from a business standpoint. I would do the same thing as well. They want to, and you can do this before anything changes hands, before you trigger right of first refusal. You have somebody like Levesque come in, do the survey, evaluate how many houses can be plopped on there, and bring it to the planning board so that you can decide whether, or what they can decide whether it's going to be permissible or not. Doesn't mean that the property has been triggered by this or not.
Or sold, or do anything like
Well,
that.
Right.
because I, the landowner, just am curious to see if
Yeah.
I can put houses. there.
Exactly.
You're gonna pay out a few
But-
$1,000 and
Right,
have
but
this
I'm
done.
not saying that I'm selling it.
No,
I'm just saying to you, what do you think about this thing that I
because
had brought up?
it's a terribly big risk to then, if you purchase the land, and you
Well,
can't actually develop it, then
Okay.
you're up the creek to, so to
Right.
speak. A scenario of that, the Carvana land, after summer 2021, after Carvana withdrew and everything, a different prospective buyer, not Carvana, came in and pitched the planning board over a few meetings, developing that piece of land. They had heard that Carvana wasn't coming in, so they wanted to put in a mix of kind of commercial and business buildings on there. And it got, there were plans and surveys, renderings and illustrations. Some people were up in arms again because they were like, oh no, but
John Wally bought it.
yeah,
It
exactly. He
wasn't-
ended up
wasn't
buying it.
sold, yeah.
He ended up buying it. And I think it's just the market kind of tanked in terms of prices and whatnot, so
But that property was not 61A.
part of it was, part of it
I
was,
thought
yes.
most of it was not.
Most of it,
Maybe,
exactly.
maybe you need to check on this other, what's it, South one?
North Lawn?
North Lawn.
North It's possible they didn't register in it, which some would be smart for them, because if they want to sell,
They
then
grew
pay
tobacco
higher
back up.
Yeah.
there, so they're using it
taxes,
for
but
farm.
then they can do what they
That's-
want.
exactly, you hit the nail on the head. So that's the thing. Some people may
They
be
make
farmers,
the
but
choice.
yeah, exactly. So they say, you know what, I'm gonna pay the higher tax rate, but when it comes time for me to sell, I don't have to go through the town or give them right of first refusal. I can sell to whoever I want.
Yeah.
And legally, they can do
I
that.
can do that, absolutely.
But a lot of people want to get the tax cut, and I get that, but they sign off their right to sell directly to somebody when they want. They have to wait for us, the town, to, 120 days.
Does the agricultural commission have a list of all the 61A properties?
Yes. Yep, I updated it in April.
April.
Yes.
Amy, yes,
I only have it for A because
Oh.
that's agriculture, but I'm working on updating B.
yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
If there is food, I don't know.
There is B, yeah, for sure. Yes, there's chapter 61A obviously, and then 61B in town.
In town.
And
Yeah,
in town,
wow.
and just 61A alone, we have over 70 properties. And some of them are itty bitty, some of them are 5. You need a 5 acres, you only need a minimum of 5.
Right.
So sometimes we've gotten those little, pieces and we're like, we're not gonna buy this, like, just go off and sell it and, do your thing. Like we really can't justify the purchase to the CPC because maybe it's wedged in between 2 residential areas.
Exactly,
So what are you
yeah.
gonna do? Are you really gonna use town money to buy a little piece of land that you can't do very much on? Like, kind of have to think and be responsible with taxpayer money,
The town
Which I
needs
appreciate.
For what they need to do is more senior housing here in this town,
Yeah,
because Westfield pretty much runs Depot Court. And it's not the greatest of all places there.
I know.
And then Aaron Circle's Federal, there's more other different people there than Southwick people. And we don't have enough senior
Yeah,
housing here in Southwick. We don't.
yeah. That came up in the master plan, actually, and it was something that we've written in. And like you were saying, Mr. Chairman, a lot of it is federal stuff, it's state stuff, so it gets complicated, but we put the recommendation in the master plan that even if we can't decide that at the municipal level, because there's federal money, we need to kind of build a better bridge with the feds and the state government to tell them, hey, we have a deficiency here in town and it's not meeting our needs. We have an aging population. It's only going to increase every projection shows.
And you can use community development block grant.
Right, exactly. That maybe combined with some state and federal funds, we could actually do something
There is-
about senior
There is
housing.
state funding,
Yeah.
that was, I worked in them.
Yeah, okay, so you
And a
know
lot of
exactly.
communities are doing for seniors.
Yeah,
Like Granby has done a lot there in Granby, Connecticut.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then there's the luxury apartments they're building there. You see that?
Yeah.
oh, right on 202,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yes,
Luxury
yes.
apartments.
Yeah,
That's her generation. They don't want to have to mow. They don't want to do anything.
no, I'm the exception to that, no.
You know, you're a little bit rude.
Am I?
Yeah. Why
Oh.
don't you introduce the young lady behind you? I was
Oh.
it's your mom.
It is my mother, yes, yes, this is my mother.
How are you?
Good. We've met before.
Oh, sorry, I was remiss in
No.
that, so. Any other questions, or scenarios that are of concern? Because I think this has been the most engaging and interesting discussion that I've had with any of the commissions, and I'm so glad we're doing it, because no one else has had these concerns or worries, and I think it's important with anything to make sure you understand possible loopholes. So I appreciate all of your points, and I hope I'm answering them satisfactorily. And if I don't know anything, I'll tell you, like, I'll say, hey, let's ask town council about that. But I think so far, yeah, is everything clear in terms of what this protocol does and doesn't do?
Pretty much, it's something that, you know, have to study a little bit more because it's,
Yeah,
you know, it's new to me. I'm sure you are up to here looking at the state law, so. I think I get it. I know what the intent is.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the steps to follow. You know, what we
Right.
do with the land is a whole different subject, but these are
Yeah.
the steps to follow if the town decides it wants it.
right. And do keep in mind that there is an option 3 at the end, that if we get to the point where there is interest to buy it, but we just don't have the money, or we can't get on board with it, or, you know, whatever reason, you can assign that interest
over
to
to
a
a
land trust. And at that point, it's private money. You know, you have the right
But
by
then you don't
state.
have to say, except through the normal channels of planning board. and-
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
you could get the house.
You could, but it's state law only allows you to confer that right to a land trust or a conservation organization. So unless they're an evil land trust or an evil conservation organization that you're conferring your right to, that happens to want to develop housing, which I hope we would vet as a town. If we're gonna give it over to, say, Kestrel Land Trust,
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Kestrel, like, you know, they're a well-known land trust. They do a lot of conservation. They are against development. I would hope that we would, you know, assign it to a
No, we-
legally,
Know who you're giving it to.
yeah, and state law says that you have to assign it to a legally recognized land trust or conservation organization. You can't sign it off to a sneaky developer. You can't. So there's that protection as well. If we decided to say, hey, we don't want to use public money for this, we'll give it to somebody else to figure out. So it's a good
And
point.
they're actually, that somebody else actually has more constraints than the town.
Yeah, yeah, because they're, exactly, at that point, that's kind of their, yeah. Their loopholes, yeah. And I think the only thing I would want to make clear to the board lastly, and I've said this to all of the commissions and boards that I've, you know, sought to get endorsement of. Endorsement for me is, it's more important that there be a vote of understanding of what the steps are, that you understand your rights as a board or commission under Mass General Law, that you understand that when this gets triggered, when a property that happens to be in one of these 3 categories decides to sell, and they have to do their due diligence because they signed off that right by getting that tax incentive for years, that when they take that step, that you understand you're supposed to be informed about it. I think that's the biggest thing, you know, otherwise this is all for naught.
So many days.
But then so that you understand you're supposed to get informed about it, and that you then, once you are informed about it, you schedule a meeting within 30 days, that you do your due diligence as a board to figure out if there is any interest on your, you know, within your group to take this to the select board, even if it's as simple as saying, no way. That's enough. And you can tell the select board that without having to go to that hearing. You can just express to them, hey, we're not interested in this. We're going to pass. That's fine. But keeps it moving along. It lets the landowner keep moving along with their life too. You know, Carl doesn't have to hunt you down for an answer, you know? You know?
You know where to find them.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, yeah, any other questions, concerns?
Yeah.
If you think of any other loopholes that you are concerned about, we can.
Oh, I just. Do we discuss it further when she leaves, or what do you want to do?
And then, write a letter to the agricultural commission on our vote? Is that good?
Of course, whatever you guys prefer, if you wanna.
Even though you might not be there next month?
You do something.
I am, yeah, in about a month and a half, so.
My mom's here to keep an eye on you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It can happen anytime now. Are you ready to deliver? Yeah, we are, yes, that's right. We should just do it here and now, get it out of the way. Got an expert here.
I was 2 weeks late, so.
Oh, don't say that to me. Don't say
Both
that.
times.
No, Cindy, no. Oh, gosh. Oh, man, no.
I just remember with our first one, with my daughter Jessie. And, I'm getting ready. I got up, cause I work midnights. I got up, getting cleaned up. And my wife walks in the bathroom. He says, I think it's ready. What do you mean you think it's ready to go? And she says, well, look, the water broke.
Oh, boy,
crap.
yeah, oh.
Yeah. But she had her stuff all ready in her, she was pretty well organized, so.
Yeah, I've been told at
Yeah.
this point I should have a little bag ready to go.
Yeah,
I
have
need
it
to
to
do
go,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
A fan, bring your own fan.
For sure. All right, oh boy, yeah, that's the next step, so. Yeah, no, that sounds acceptable. Whatever it takes for
Okay.
you guys to kind of be able to discuss it. If there are any further questions that arise from that or concerns, let me know. By the next time we probably connect, I hope to have an update from town council as well. I made,
Right.
I made that request tonight to the select board to make sure that, this is actually reflective of state law. So if I get any updates from town council via the select board, I will let you guys know
Yeah,
as
that would
well,
be-
so that you
would be
can
good, yeah.
understand how to proceed, so. All right, well, thank you so
Well,
very
thank
much
you.
for your time and for all of the feedback. I really appreciate it. And again, very good discussion. I'm very grateful for that because it helps me
Well-
think a little bit more about all of this, so.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
very much.
Keep an eye on it.
Thanks so much.
Any other business?
Uh,
Unless you want to
I'm
discuss a
full
little
of
bit.
city. Was there anything that come up since the last meeting? Well, the last meeting, I guess, anything
No,
that you think we should be interested in or concerned about, or?
the only two things were the PVPC and Mercer. Other than that, I didn't have any other concerns.
We can't have an open discussion. We don't have anybody else here anyways, but I don't know. I just.
Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's
I-
your, I don't know, I guess, it's a process, right?
It's
Linda?
only- this is
It's only a process.
What we're voting on is only a process, so if it,
It's a process that
Once-
they've already agreed to do.
it's based on state law,
Yeah.
which is what we
Yeah.
have, which is what's supposed to be done. If a 61A property comes, is up for sale. And it hasn't been done in the past, as she said, that 60 days into the 120 is when agriculture
sudden.
learned about it. So now,
Well,
this is the
Is that the
protocol.
farmer's fault or is
No,
that,
that's the town's.
that's the town's fault? Okay.
So this is writing down what has to be done, that the administrative officer has to notify all of the board
Wards about
within
this,
5
this
days.
piece of land is now,
Right, and
up for sale.
and then within 30 days, which hopefully within, that 5 days, we will have another meeting. Within that 30 days,
Mhm.
and then, express how we would feel about that particular piece of property.
Yeah.
This is only setting down the steps.
Steps.
So that everybody would, gets notified at the same time, which hasn't happened before. That is not the farmer's fault.
Well, I fully agree with what you said about the town doesn't want to be the landlord to low income
Okay.
houses.
but that decision basically comes to, even if.
It'll be the town's decision.
I'm just saying, it would have to get to a town meeting, I would think.
Exactly. If they're gonna use,
No, it's gotta go, it's
Yeah,
gotta
but
go
I'm
through
just,
the
but
planning
how
board.
else, if,
then they can sign it to a land trust, but
Right.
that, according to Melissa, that the land trusts are, limited and they can't do
Right,
anything like that unless they're evil.
but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if for some reason. Because the select board has they can't say, we think it should be this.
Well, they can't, they
They can
can,
recommend something,
I'm
but
sure
they
they
can't.
can, but that doesn't mean it's,
I thought,
I
That's
think
the gospel.
all the boards
Right.
have to.
Have their
input.
but according to this
This
process,
is a public hearing.
all of us put our,
Right,
yeah, no, we don't have an interest, yes, we do, because we wanna make this out of it.
and then.
And then the
there's
select
public
board
hearing.
has to say, all right, here are our two suggestion scenarios,
Well,
our two
according to
options.
what Marissa said, that was one of the things I said, they don't make that decision.
The select board
If-
doesn't.
If historical comes in with one suggestion and
And
conservation comes in with another, they gotta bring both to the
Right.
CPC. That's what she said.
Right,
So, then the CPC has to decide, if it's the same amount of money.
and then they
And then
vote,
they
right,
have to go, and then that goes before the town
town
meeting,
meeting.
and maybe
Right.
that's where it gets this one or this one,
Mhm.
you pick.
But everyone's going to know that whatever commission wanted to do this. It doesn't sound like the select board they can't, if we say we want, there's a historical building on this, so and the agriculture wants to make a farm out of it, so we say, well, we have an interest in the building, they have an interest in the land, so both of us, even though we're not different, but we go
Support.
now, now we can't go to a town, we can't go to this meeting and the select board say, well, we thought that we would like low income housing. They can't,
Theoretically,
they
no.
can't
shouldn't.
because,
They shouldn't be able to do that,
But
Right.
but that's with anything, like,
that's,
The whole-
but even though, that doesn't, this process,
even, if you even take away CPC money and all that, that's like the whole Carvana thing. How that got blown out, because they said, the selectmen said,
right,
well,
but the select
they
didn't
just-
have.
just saying they're supporting it going to the planning board. Well, even this, it's gotta go through the planning board anyway, if it's gonna
well, if
fit,
it's gonna be developed,
exactly.
But I'm
So,
just saying, well, like you said, if the Carvana land was zoned for that, the selectmen, I don't think they couldn't legally say, no, that we're not doing this, right?
no, all they're doing,
All they're doing is
prove
saying
it to
that,
go to
hey,
the
it
planning
has to
board,
go through.
It has to
planning
go.
board.
the
right,
process. And let the planning board and the public decide whether it's going to work,
Mhm.
but it got blown up way before that.
Right, so this
Unfortunately.
process would kind of help that not happen maybe then, is that?
Well,
Theoretically, they would,
it spells it out.
the chief administrative officer gets the
Mhm.
notification,
Right,
is supposed to tell all
All
these
these-
listed
all
boards,
these, and they're all here,
and the selectmen,
Mhm.
that, within 5 days, this is happening. And then within 30 days.
all these
everybody's
commissions
supposed-
meet and say,
Well, that's what's
not together,
yeah.
but well,
Yeah, we meet separately and then go to the selectmen's public hearing, let the selectmen know maybe how we feel. And then, but they have to hold that public hearing, and we all go to that public
Mhm.
hearing and hash it out.
right, yeah. So,
And it's just recording it, so everybody gets to say
this,
that they're supposed to get to say.
this document is not giving the select board any power or any decisions.
No, it's just.
No, it's just,
doing a
it's just,
procedure, that's
it is
all
a
it is.
procedure that's trying to make the process more thorough.
Yes. Yes, so that nobody's left out,
And it
or
wasn't, so
that
everyone,
finds out too late,
right.
or something like that.
Mhm.
I just said, when that comment was made at the last meeting, I was just very
Right.
upset.
Right, but once again, that probably had nothing to do with this, maybe did at the time, I don't remember.
Well, it did, we were talking about what
Maybe with
uses
the
at the
possibilities,
that if the town chose to buy the property
Mhm.
that the farmers.
but I mean, right, yeah,
That came up as a use.
but I mean, I suppose anybody can suggest that, I guess.
I just,
But I mean, I agree with you, who wants the town to be a landlord?
But not only that,
But-
but if you're gonna put up housing, why are we going through all this process?
Oh,
Just
right.
let the
Oh,
farmers
right,
sell it.
right.
sell it.
That's true, you're right there,
You
right,
might
yeah,
not get low income housing, but you're still gonna get housing.
right, and you're right, why?
Why do this?
Mhm. But legally, the farmer has to, if they're in that 61A.
They get the tax.
They have to go
Yeah.
through this
They
process.
have to go through this process. Correct.
So once again, this just ensures that
Everybody gets
process.
notified,
everyone knows what's going on,
everybody
And
that's
everyone's
supposed to be
notified.
notified gets notified
So
in
you-
a timely manner.
right? And you
What do you
get,
think, Cindy?
What if they were gonna buy the land for low income housing, but it was just for elderly,
Yeah, no,
um,
absolutely.
like a 55 and up kind of
But-
thing?
But you don't want the town to do it. You don't want the town
but
to be
then,
the landlord.
But maybe that's the only way they could make it happen, was to make
No,
sure they did it
usually,
themselves.
like
Because
even with
then it'll
the
become
people
housing
court and Aaron Circle, we're both done federally.
It would have to be,
Right, it's done,
the town, I don't think can own it. I think it would have to be the housing authority.
it
have
is
to-
the housing,
They would
yeah,
have to turn it over. Well, if they chose to buy a piece of land and build elderly housing on it, then you would, then it becomes, it's not on the tax roll. The housing authority owns it, it's not on the tax. roll. The two elderly housing we have now, each condo in Rosewood pays their own property tax.
Yeah.
because
And,
they're just, they're not, that had nothing to do with any farmland, right? One
right,
road
no, I'm
was
just
done-
saying
Yeah,
for
right.
elderly housing.
Oh, okay.
And I think
Oh.
that, I think the American Inn is taxable because it's owned by a,
Right,
right,
an
and I
entity.
think what
But if
you
the
said,
town owns the land.
what
then
she
it's
says makes
taxable.
sense.
Right, yeah.
And that's what I mean, senior housing,
Yeah.
affordable senior housing. And you understand, and even if they did affordable senior housing, it's not gonna be a slum place. It's gonna still be nice, it'll be
Yeah.
done nice and everything like that. Because generally, I think the feds that get involved in that, don't they? The federal? Through the housing or something like that's, I think that's how Depot Court
I
went,
think
and
how,
and
I
Aaron
think
Circle
how
too.
Depot Court was.
well, actually, one is federally run and one is
But it
state
is
run.
now, but it's changed. It,
But it would have to be. owned by
One
the housing
state owned.
authority.
Right,
They
right,
don't pay
Depot state.
taxes. So, the thing is,
but we seriously need affordable senior housing.
Yeah.
well,
You could, you see
other
it,
people will say we need affordable housing, period. And, but, and I would think that would be up to the developer who's developing.
I mean, They
Well,
they wanna
Troy,
make more
Not-
money, so of course they're gonna.
they're gonna put up big houses.
Yeah.
Do the McMansions, but the town should not be owning that, absolutely.
Oh, no.
Fiscally
But I'm
irresponsible.
just saying, what does I mean, if the town was gonna decide today, they voted, you know what, we are going to look into senior housing. They said that tonight. Just thinking around town, where is there property that the town would go and buy to put a senior Rosewood, if you wanted to call it another Rosewood? I mean, where in town would you put another Rosewood?
Any of the farms that are on 51A.
yeah,
But one of us would have to, well, it still would have to go through this process though.
if it's going to use
And it
CPC
would
money.
still have to go to right, well, it would still have to go to a vote at a town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, this process is not
It's just
saying,
procedure.
it's just a procedure.
It's just a procedure of how,
She explained it more about it, yeah, it's
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
just a procedure, but
because I asked you
Right.
questions, but, it might be, it might be a land like Sokonoskis, where they say,
Mhm.
oh, okay, we're gonna put in a community garden and have a hiking trail.
Mhm. Yeah,
And, there's some things, and, regardless, town buys the land, it's off the tax roll and the rest of us.
but as in Soffer, wasn't Soffer House, he's left to the town by the family then? That's why?
That's what they can do that too.
they got the garden off. of-
Every
No,
time,
no, I'm just
Fine.
saying, but that's how that it became what it
every
is, right?
time they, I don't know about that, but
I-
every time a developer goes in and, develops those, I don't know, say the ones off of South Lawrence Road,
Mm.
or all that, Patriots Way or whatever.
Yeah,
If there's land he can't build, it's either part of somebody's property because it's a swamp, or it's a piece of, a larger piece of swamp, but they're not into the town.
right.
So he doesn't have to
You want to know a good
pay
example
Right,
of
yeah.
that? Granado Circle,
Oh,
because I was on Park and Rec. The developer gave this property, right, then. It's down in the wood, it's
and
down the
they
hill.
can't develop
It's a,
it, they don't
can't
wanna pay
develop.
taxes that, give it away, so
Right.
if, all this town, all this, comes off the tax
Yes.
rolls, and gets spread out to the rest of us. but,
I know, it's crazy.
I mean, sometimes a good purpose, like I
Mhm.
said, it's, you know, I wanna keep the fabric of the town the same, I like to see the
Well,
open
one thing to me,
spaces and whatever.
we're saying CPC money, and I know you feel the same way, because you kind of said it to her. Why are we doing it for developing anyways? I mean, I thought we're saving it for farms, we're doing,
Money could be used for housing.
huh?
It can be. Someone told me that CPC money can be used for low income housing. It can be.
I know, okay, I didn't
So
know
I'm
that.
just saying,
I know. it can
but
be
I'm,
used,
but I'm
you
just
know,
saying, so let's say I'm a developer and I come into town and I own the property. I think I can apply for CPC funds. But once again, the town has nothing to, the town doesn't own the land. I believe, I'm not 100% sure that. And I forget all the things that would have to come together for me to do this, but I don't know. But CPC money can be used for low income housing, but I forget all the,
Yeah, but I think
Things
if
that have
the
to happen
farmer is
for it
still
to-
owning part of the property, he's putting it under CPC under that,
61,
yeah, well. Like Russ did with their property in the back there, it's just farming, you can't do anything else, you can't develop
Right,
it
yes.
or anything, it's farming only,
right now, yeah,
right now, yes.
yeah. Unless he decided to sell it, then he has to go through this process.
right.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
So, right, all we're talking about is right now is a
Right now, he's
process.
talking
I'll
CPC.
BC, I'm just saying, I think
And-
it's an option. I have no idea what all the,
Well, that's like, you know, the Morehouse coming in and saying, you know, we need
Hmm.
money to fix. It doesn't have to be town owned.
right, they don't own it, right.
And whatever to use CPC money, but, you know, it is our tax.
Hmm.
And that's.
Did they
what it
get-
comes down
did
to.
they
And you-
get the-
and, you know, it would go on me to give it to a for-profit who's gonna develop land, even if he's building
Mhm.
low-income housing or senior housing or whatever,
But I'm just trying to think of,
my tax.
no, I get it. But I'm just saying, let's just say a nonprofit. And I'm trying to think of the nonprofit
Yeah,
that does housing,
there's plenty of. them
whether
out
it's,
there.
but,
I've
and
heard
they own land in Southwick.
Mhm.
That's nonprofit does, and now they want to build housing. And I
Mhm.
believe they can apply for
Mhm.
Doesn't mean they're gonna get it, because this has to go to the town,
Right.
and people would say, we're not,
And they
and they
could,
would vote it
they
down.
could apply, they could go to the selectmen and have the town apply for money for them through the CDBG. Suffolk has to apply yearly because it gets it through the state.
Mhm.
Holyoke got it directly from the feds, but yeah, and then I can use it for that too.
Right,
But this
but this
is
is
just the
process.
proceed.
This has nothing to do with
So
any
we-
of those decisions.
so we're saying we can approve this.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't see why
It's
not.
just the process.
Yeah, it's just a process. There's
You know,
no,
we get our say in the land, if a land comes up for us.
and like you say, there's no, this does not give away anyone's right to whatever everyone, I don't say right, but in the whole process.
We can voice our opinion, and like she said, if someone else voices a different opinion, they both have to be presented. And
So,
if CPC money, it has to go to the town, and that's the big thing,
Well, let's go CPC fund first.
and see what they say.
And then, by the way, on the assumption, we don't have a CPC rep right now. I was gonna go to the last meeting, we had a board meeting and but anyway, that's another discussion after we discuss this.
Yeah.
she's still on for another 3-4 years.
She is,
Oh, wait,
her, we just got reappointed, her
Right.
term doesn't end until 25, yours is 24. Yours and,
yeah, but is she still,
but she's MIA.
Yeah,
all right, well, let's do this first.
okay,
So-
so,
And if he doesn't, if she's, you know, not going to that, then we do Richard.
what's that?
But we don't see Richard either.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, just gonna say, who wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, put our stamp of approval on this process, that we,
Any further discussion? Okay, I guess we discussed a lot.
we discussed it a lot.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
So we have to let
well, Cindy, can you do a letter to send to her that we approved it?
Yeah, I can just write an email.
Right, and then send it, need me to sign it, right?
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
just
Just to
say,
say the board voted on it, that we approved it.
approve the
The revised.
The-
procedure for handling MGL chapter 61 and 61A, if you want to do that.
That's,
Yeah,
okay.
at their meeting on August 14th.
I don't know, it's,
The time, there's a time crunch. There's,
I guess it's better
I
to
think
have,
it's gonna take a while before this actually
yeah,
works like it's.
well,
supposed
it's gonna
to.
be, the interesting part is gonna be what the town council says on it. He's gonna have a
Yeah.
say on that.
Yeah, because he's gonna see it, that she followed the state law, right, what it says.
Mhm.
And like I said, you can't go less than what the state law says, but you can do more.
Yeah,
and kudos to her for putting the time and effort into doing all this, because it's a lot of, it's a little like legwork, it's just,
When you have to read all the state law, ooh.
can you, yes. So,
anything else?
It's-
I can't think of it.
We've been in a while.
7:45.
Um,
I guess a motion to adjourn.
Second?
all right,
We'll say all in
all in
favor.
favor?
Aye.